Alright guys, welcome back for more gaming news. It's again every time here, and tonight we will discuss about new upcoming gaming title, The Witcher 4, inclusive of its release date with all latest news and rumors surrounding it. The Witcher 4 is happening, but it's going to be a long way off. The Witcher 3 is getting a next-gen port for PS5, Xbox Series X and PC, and developer CD Projekt Red is also beavering away on DLC and patches for Cyberpunk 2077 patches. However, the studio has gone as far as to talk about having a relatively clear concept for the next game, and that it plans to release another AAA game by 2021, provided all the Cyberpunk 2077 performance drama hasn't slowed things down. That could mean a new Witcher game relatively soon. That doesn't mean you should expect more Geralt, or even for the game to be called The Witcher 4. The studio is clear that the original trilogy stands alone, but there are plenty of stories in the universe of The Witcher to explore. For now, we'll just have to keep binge watching the Netflix series and reading the Dandelion fan fiction. The Witcher 4 is not confirmed, but we know CD Projekt Red is working on another title in the Witcher universe. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of information out there about The Witcher 4 just yet. The Witcher 4, or whatever the next Witcher game will be called, could be about any number of things. There is plenty of lore that encapsulates the universe, and the wonderfully dynamic characters. But while specifics about the game evade us, we have a few ideas about what comes next. When is The Witcher 4 release date? There isn't one yet. We expect to wait at least a few years before we get any concrete details on the next game in the series. Another Witcher game is in the works. However, in a CD Projekt Red business strategy report, the studio revealed plans to start parallel AAA development in 2022, which focus on their two core franchises, namely, The Witcher and Cyberpunk. It'll be some time before we know more, and we don't expect CD Projekt Red to reveal too much about the game in advance. They've revised their marketing strategy to focus on shorter campaigns. In the report, SVP of Business Development Mitch Abnokowski explains we'll wait until much closer to our game's launch before we start showing things like trailers, demos, or going in depth about mechanics. We don't know when The Witcher 4 will launch, but we can confirm that another game in the Witcher franchise is in the works thanks to a CD Projekt Red business strategy report. CD Projekt Red is kicking off a parallel AAA game development strategy starting in 2022. We imagine the team is still working on getting Cyberpunk 2077 patched and upgraded for next-gen consoles. However, if we had to guess, the next Witcher game is likely going to launch for PC, PS5 and Xbox Series X and S considering development starts next year. We likely won't see Witcher 4 until 2026. Why? Because previous Witcher titles have needed a 4-year development cycle. To have The Witcher 4 trailer we need it to actually exist first. Perhaps we can will it into existence if we all collectively pray to the eternal fire. Anyway, you can get nostalgic all over again with 10th anniversary video of the series. That's all we or anyone else will have for you on The Witcher 4 right now. We're probably going to be in for a long wait, so make sure you've played through all The Witcher 3 DLC before complaining too much. Since we don't know when The Witcher 4 release date is coming, there's no sign of official one just yet. But there are plenty of fan-made trailers available on YouTube. CD Projekt Red has revealed they plan to integrate online experiences into the next Witcher game, though joint CEO Adam Kisitsky is clear that the studio's focus on making single-player story-driven AAA RPGs isn't changing, and that the online technology they're currently developing will be seamlessly integrated. There isn't much more The Witcher 4 news to go on, but let's focus on a positive. Despite what we were told even before the game released, we may not have seen the end of The Witcher 3's protagonist, Geralt. We are not killing the world and walking away from it, Awinski said to Polygon during a 2013 tech demo, but we will definitely want to make this game the finale in a big way. Tantalizingly, he added, we might even include Geralt in later games, potentially. Any more of the White Wolf is a win in our book. Kaczynski has repetitively stressed that each The Witcher entry released so far was conceived as a trilogy, but that there would be a future game set in this world in some form, in an interview with Polish financial site Strefy Inwestro. This was then translated by Resetera in November 2017. The fact that another The Witcher game will happen but it won't be called The Witcher 4 was reiterated by Kaczynski to Bankier in July 2018. The Witcher fans got another surprise on the day that the Netflix show of the same name launched. CD Projekt Red reveals it has solidified its relationship with The Witcher creator Andrzej Sapkowski. Basically, that means the Polish dev has new rights, as well as confirms the company's title to The Witcher intellectual property in video games, graphic novels, board games, and merchandise, indicating there's hopefully more on the way. Even if you didn't wring every drop of Griffin blood out of The Witcher 3, by completing the Blood and Wine DLC and ticking off every question mark, Geralt's final outing ended definitively. There were 40 different endings, but, regardless of the outcome, there was little room left for a new full-fat adventure with Geralt at the helm. So, Geralt is out, but, as charmingly rugged as he is, there are a slew of interesting characters in Sapkowski's world that could more than handle the role of main playable character in The Witcher 4. First, we would like to see Ciri replace Jezza as The Witcher 4's protagonist. If you got this ending, it'd be an arresting prospect to live the life of Ciri, Empress of Nilfgaard. Dragon Age Inquisition style, we could negotiate, barter, and command armies to settle disputes across the Empire. We're not the only fans with Ciri in mind to take the helm of The Witcher 4. Geralt's voice actor, Doug Cocker, thinks so too. Even better, we could follow a new Witcher through the notoriously dangerous trial of the Grasses. Many budding Witchers perish in this brutal training program, but there's plenty of story potential there. Or we could be transported back 1,500 years before the events of the novels to the conjunction of the spheres, the cataclysm trapping the many monsters of The Witcher in our dimension. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the narratives The Witcher 4 could pursue. What the story will be about depends on whether the next game is actually Witcher 4, a direct sequel to the 2015 masterpiece. The possible sequel to Witcher 3 could focus on several things depending on which ending is canonical. It could also take place before the games, which would cover the events of the books. Or it could also be a full-blown remake of The Witcher 1, which many feel is needed. Okay, let's start with the possibility of a direct sequel in The Witcher 4. It could either follow a retired Geralt of Rivia and Kavra Beyond, or it could focus on Ciri becoming a Witcher. However, both rely on making choices in The Witcher 3 wholly canonical, like romancing Triss or leading Ciri down the path of a Witcher. As someone who is on board with those specific choices, I don't mind either of them. Despite that, CD Projekt Red CEO Adam Kisitsky said in an interview with Bankier that the first 3 Witchers were by definition a trilogy, so we simply could not name the next game The Witcher 4. This does not mean, of course, that we will leave the world of The Witcher. While it might not be called The Witcher 4, the next entry could still be a sequel to The Witcher 3, like how God of War 2018 is a sequel to its previous trilogy. Then, there is the possibility of a Witcher prequel. Since the games take place after the books, fans who haven't digested the source material might be confused about the references and details throughout the games. Having a game that covers the entirety of the book series would be wonderfully compelling. Well, this is our least favorite idea. A full remake of The Witcher is a possibility. The original Witcher game is outdated, and could use a major graphics, gameplay and voice acting overhaul. I'm not usually a fan of retreading work, but the original Witcher game deserves to be experienced by fans of The Witcher 3. We love The Witcher, but each game manages to deliver mediocre combat. We complained about this in my The Witcher 3 retrospective piece about the game's 5th year anniversary. We are hoping that CD Projekt Red will finally master The Witcher's combat system. We are imagining something as fluid as a Dark Souls game, but with a little twist to give it that Witcher flair. We are also hoping that the skill trees, oils and potions feel more necessary and present this time around. We are always felt like they were an afterthought, not necessarily integral to the core gameplay. On the hardest difficulty, we could defeat most enemies without having to use my important items. And the enemies you fight never seem to play well with the combat mechanics. There were only a handful of fights in the game that worked within the combat system. Well, we love the Witcher franchise, it has its problems. There's barely any POC representation, and it could work on including more LGBTQ representation. We would love to see more colorful characters, both literally and figuratively, in the next Witcher title. Cyberpunk 2077 was a step forward. There are still some issues with that game, but there's at least more representation than in The Witcher. This is going to be rough. People could barely get Cyberpunk 2077 to run. We can't imagine what kind of non-existent beast you'll need to run The Witcher 4 in 4 or so years from now. For reference, the minimum requirements for Cyberpunk 2077 are an Intel Core i5 3570K, or AMD FX 8310 CPU, 8GB of RAM, and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 780 or AMD Radeon RX 470 GPU. Meanwhile, the recommended specs include an Intel Core i7 4790, or AMD Ryzen 3 3200G CPU, 12GB of RAM, and a GTX 1066GB or GTX 1660 Super, or Radeon RX 590 GPU. We have a feeling that Nvidia's RTX 30 series are going to end up on these lists, considering how far away The Witcher 4 is. There's a lot that we don't know about The Witcher 4, but a new Witcher game is coming. We hope CD Projekt Red learns from its previous mistakes and provides a more inclusive look into the Witcher franchise, much like what the Netflix series did. There's still a lot of time before we see anything attached to this new Witcher title, but hopefully, the studio cooks this one in the oven long enough. We'd be lying if we said we didn't want The Witcher 4 to exist one day. Like millions of others out there, we think it's a masterpiece of gaming that absolutely deserves a sequel. However, having played The Witcher 3 and its expansions, we can see that there is an end to the series, at least in its current form. If we were to see The Witcher 4 land on our PC or consoles in the next few years per decade, there's definitely scope to have a fresh face lead us there. No doubt we'll be playing as another Witcher, although it could be that part of The Witcher 4 is having to go through the trial of the grasses, the incredibly painful test that young apprentices have to survive through in order to become a Witcher. It's how they get their signature cat-like eyes, and other enhanced skills. It would certainly be a lot of new ground to cover, especially seeing that new Witcher trying to carve a name for themselves in those early years, particularly in the shadow of Geralt and Ciri. And there you have it. Everything that we know about this upcoming title so far. Some additional info might be unveiled over the course of time, so make sure to check back as we'll be updating our channel as soon as more information get revealed from developers and all that. So guys, that's it. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then give this video a big thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe.